Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffy Kennedy, author of Epic Fantasy Romance. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. Delicious. Today is, say it with me, it is Friday, woo-hoo, February 14th, Valentine's Day. And happy Valentine's to all of you, my faithful listeners. I wish you love wherever you may find it. And with no further ado, I'm going to talk about, I've mentioned before that I'm participating in Vow for Girls to stop child marriage around the world. We're raising money, asking you to donate, not to give up your one latte of the day that brings you joy. But if you have money to donate, we're asking you to do so. And I'm doing a special giveaway. So I am giving away 3 print copies of, yes, 3 print copies signed. It has to be to someone in the US. Sorry. Shipping elsewhere is just getting really complicated. Of the Chronicles of Dasnaria trilogy, which I'm holding up if you are on video: Prisoner of the Crown, Exile of the Seas, and Warrior of the World. If you have not read these books, um, these are about a young woman who is basically sold into marriage, and it's an abusive marriage, and it's kind of awful. So the first book is kind of dark and is not a romance. It ends happily, but not in a romantic way. Uh, the love interest appears in the second book as she is fleeing. I mean, I know that's a spoiler, but spoiler, she does not remain trapped. And Warrior of the World is the third and final book. And I have a soft spot for this trilogy. Um, there are, I know, a number of readers who have said they will not read it because that first book is dark, which is fine. I totally understand that. But I wanted to show the reality of it. I wanted to show, I don't know. I love the trope marriage of convenience. I love enemies to lovers, but I felt like at one point I needed to write something that would tell the other side of this story. So now I wish I could give away, I mean, I could, but I do have this beautiful print trilogy of the Czech translation, which has gorgeous, gorgeous covers. And I'm showing those on here. Uh, if somebody does want the Czech translation, let me know. Um, Donate and comment, and yeah, let's see if we can't get it to you. Uh, if only for those beautiful, beautiful covers. I have 2 sets of those. Otherwise, I would not part with this one. Um, so rules will be in the show notes, but basically for this giveaway, we are asking that you do donate something to Vow for Girls. That's the whole point of doing this. And then you can enter by sending screenshot or some kind of proof of your donation. And thank you for doing that. I feel like it's so important. I mentioned on another show, but that the Taliban in I think in Iran recently lowered the marriageability age to 9, and the whole reason to do this is to um, wed children to grown men who can then control them, and that kind of thing. If we have to try to stop it. Uh, Moving on, I have Arcs of Never the Roses. I'm showing this on video. Look how beautiful! I did post a photo of this online. Um, the the final cover, this will be like in gold foil, and the rose thorns along the sides will be in gold paint, and it's just beautiful. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous arc. We've got these advanced reading copy is what that stands for. It's got these beautiful little chapter headers. Because they're ARCs, advanced reading copies, they don't have the maps and stuff yet, but beautifulness. So I'm super excited to have those. We are going to be looking for more ARC readers. So Assistant Corinne has put together a form to fill out, and I will be looking at those questions. I didn't quite get to it yesterday, but then we will be taking applications. One thing I'm looking for people wanting to get Arcs of Never the Roses is I would really like people who are also interested in reading my Jeffe Kennedy books. So it's just a good time to add to the ARC team and refresh and so forth. So I think I need to add that question. And yeah, we're looking forward to having you read for us. All right. So other things. I've had a good writing week. In fact, this will be, unless today goes completely to hell, which is always a possibility, it will be my best word count week of the entire year. So that's nice. It's feeling good. I am this close to hitting 60,000 words on Strange Familiar. I thought I might hit it yesterday, but I didn't quite. About 400 words shy. I thought about like pushing through, and it's like, but I should pass it today, which leaves me with only about 25,000 words to go. And yeah. So yeah, I feel like it's coming together. What I'm going to do is once I finish this draft, I am going to set it aside and do the revision for A Rose in the Mirror. And okay, so if you're on video, you're going to see one of the construction guys come to plug in their extension cord. I put a note on the cord that goes to the fountains, asking them to use the outlet inside the gate. So we'll see if they pay attention to that. They keep unplugging the fountains and then they freeze up. So I can see him reading that note, but he's plugging into the other outlet, which is perfectly fine. It's so funny having, like this activity and everything. I've complained about that numerous times. It's not so bad now because they've got the walls up. They'll be finishing the ceiling. So I, like they're kind of inside now. But yeah, it's weird. Like they come up and unplug my fountains and use my outlet, and it's doing work for me, but it also feels like an invasion. Get off my lawn. So anyway, it's been a productive week. I'm feeling good about where this is. Oh, and that's what I was saying. Then I will go switch over and do the revision of A Rose in the Mirror so I can make sure to get that done. And then I will, that way we'll give Strange Familiar a little time to percolate. I might send it to some people to read. I don't know. I'm a little torn on that because there are things I already know I need to layer in and fix and adjust. And I'm always waffling on that. I've probably talked about it before. Those of you who are longtime listeners, it's like sending a draft to somebody when there's stuff in it that needs fixing feels like partly a waste of their time because they're going to look at it and say, well, this needs fixing, which then it feels a little aggravating to me because I'm like, I know it needs fixing. But also then does it distract them from something that I don't know about? So I'll just see. I'm going to see how the timing works out on this. But I should be done by the end of the month. I've got a few, sort of just depends on how fast next week goes. I've got a few days of slop. So if I finish the draft before the end of the month, because I'm switching over to, I want to start this revision of A Rose and the Mirror on the 3rd. So if I have time, I might spend a few days doing this revision. It's fixing things like trying to explain without like spoilering, but it's sort of like when I write an initial conversation between people, I changed my mind on what their agreement was, right? You have to do things this way. Um, and then later I'm like, well, I think that this is what the deal is. So that's the kind of thing I need to fix. So we'll just see how the timing works out. But yeah, I'm definitely feeling more or less in control of my destiny at this point. We'll see how that persists. Other things I wanted to talk about on reading a couple of books. I read the newest J.D. Robb, which released on Tuesday and is an auto buy for me, of course. And I still enjoy reading these books. And I feel like I've talked about this before with them too, because I've been reading those in-depth books since they came out in the mid-90s. And times have changed, and Nora's been writing them for 30 years now, and which is an amazing accomplishment that she has kept this series going. But one thing that I really notice, and I feel like this comes from social media feedback, frankly, because I know that she sees what readers say. I see her responding to things on it. And let's see. So let's see which number this book is. Okay, so this is number 60. And the first one did come out in 1995. And I'm going to just caveat that because I'm going to complain a little bit. But did I also just pre-order the one that's coming out in September, number 61? Yes, I did. And will I continue to do so? Yes, I will. So, like it's the same couple, Eve and Rourke, and we are, up to 60 books, and it's a different murder mystery in every book. And it's just not as edgy as it was in the beginning. And I don't know how much of that is conscious on her part. Maybe it does. Maybe she doesn't need to be edgy. I don't know. I miss the edge of those initial books. I miss the edge. I'm trying to think of another way to explain it. The thrill of it, the sexiness. I mean, this one had one love scene, and it was very nice, very sweet. But Eve and Rourke are getting along very well. They had like one minor disagreement, and it was kind of dumb. I wanted more. I mean, I'm not being articulate, am I? I'd really love to know what everyone else thinks. And I'm going to spoiler this book a little bit. So if you want to know nothing about it, then stop listening. But it's this group of people who comes together, and it's cool the way it's connected into the rest of the series. And I won't spoiler who it is or why, although it could be in the back cover copy. But it brings together people from the past, okay? And so there's this whole group of friends, essentially, that are brought together, and there's a murder at the beginning. One of the people who, like we don't know who he is, we haven't met a lot of the people in this group yet. And so he is murdered, and we feel bad about it, but only kind of bad, and it's a kind of a bloodless death that wasn't too terrible. And then they work very hard to protect the rest of the people that they know are going to be targeted. And here's the spoilery part if you want to just close your ears for like 30 seconds. But none of the other people in this group get killed. And we kind of don't want them to because we like them. But also, I think in the past, at least one of them would have gotten murdered. It felt so safe. It felt so safe and nice. And I know a lot of things are moving towards cozier, but I don't know. I miss the. I knew she wasn't going to. I knew that no one else would die. I probably went past my 30 seconds there. Sorry. Um, and I don't know. There's a point at which, also spoiler, Eve gets shot, but it's barely a flesh wound and she's fine. And like I miss there was the book very early on where like she gets really badly hurt and Rourke takes care of her, and I loved that. When she got shot, I thought, okay, great, finally at last Eve has gotten hurt and we can have a little bit of her being down, but like it doesn't even break her stride. And I don't know, I miss that. um Let's see. Oh, I was going to show you all what else I'm getting to read. Look at what I has. Yes, I have The Enchanted Greenhouse. Speaking of cozy, sequel to The Spell Shop, which I loved, by Sarah Beth Durst. Editor Allie asked me if I would read this for an endorsement quote, and I am just a quarter of the way into it, but I already wrote up my endorsement quote. Uh, I'll read it all the way through to make sure something terrible doesn't happen and change my mind. We were talking about that. We were talking about endorsement quotes. So in one of my author chats, someone shared this article from The Guardian, who I subscribe to and support, that Simon and Schuster said they will no longer ask authors to obtain blurbs. Blurbs or endorsement quotes. I've started saying endorsement quotes more lately. And it's such a weird article anyway. But basically, let me close this. This guy, Sean Manning, publisher of the imprint in the US, wrote an essay for Publishers Weekly, which I did not read. I guess I could have, saying that he says, while there has never been a formal mandatory policy in the 8 years I've been with Simon & Schuster imprint, it has been tacitly expected that authors, with the help of their agents and editors, do everything in their power to obtain blurbs to use on their book cover and in promotional material. I have always found this so weird. The argument has always been that this is what makes the book business so special, the collegiality of authors and their willingness to support one another. I disagree. I believe the insistence on blurbs has become incredibly damaging to what should be our industry's ultimate goal, producing books of the highest possible quality. Authors feeling obliged to write blurbs for their friends can create an incestuous and unmeritocratic literary ecosystem, there's a phrase for you, that often rewards connections over talent. And I think it's so funny on these Guardian articles, there's always like a reaction from some British writer that I've never heard of. But it says, thank God, was the reaction of British writer Joe Hamya. Honestly, it's just an insular and repetitive format. So we were arguing about this, or discussing, debating in my author chat, and talking about, because there's a lot of just indie authors in there. And one was saying that she felt like this gave traditionally published authors an unfair advantage because we feel pressure to do this for our editors. Or our agents. And the thing is there is not pressure. It's so weird that all of these quotes are talking about there being this pressure and destroying the industry. Destroying? It feels very strong to me. Personally, I do not give quotes. I don't endorse books unless I have read them and loved them. And really, I expect anyone who endorses my books to do the same. I would never want someone to give me a quote if they don't if they don't genuinely mean it. And I was talking about, that sometimes you can tell when people have done it to be nice because the blurb will be something along the lines of, this is a book. And I've talked about this before, like how those translated, sort of like cozy and real estate means small. When people say things like lyrical, it means that it's like maybe a little overwritten. Sometimes people mean it genuinely, but I am always entertained by the quotes that are essentially like, hey, this is a book. And you could tell they didn't really like it. But I feel like that is the vanishingly small uh, representation of what happens, because most of my author friends, I know they will, offer to read the book, and we always have these outs. We have these caveats saying, well, super busy, might not get to it. And then if you don't get to it, it's could mean that you hated it. It could be that you didn't get to it, or maybe just that you didn't love it. And there's, I don't know, I saying that it's unmeritocratic. Um, I think is kind of annoying because it implies that the book business is a meritocracy anyway, which everyone likes to think it is, and everybody knows it's not. Um, yeah, merit plays in, but there's a lot that's serendipity and not necessarily connections, but networking, working well with people. Uh, yeah, So I'm going a little long, so I won't wax on a lot longer on this. But I think it's an interesting question. And one thing that we're forever debating is whether or not readers pay attention to endorsement quotes on books. And I just know that when I was a reader, before I understood how publishing worked or any of those things, yeah, if a favorite author of mine had an endorsement quote on a book with an author I never heard of, it made a difference to me. I always paid attention to that. And I'm kind of amazed that people say they think readers don't pay attention. Um, I think that one thing that happens in our social media communities, like when somebody says, oh, well, they ask their readers if they pay attention to it, and the readers say, no, they don't. You're still only getting a very small sample. You are not seeing all those people who are not talking to us on social media, who are at the store, browsing through the bookstore and picking up books, that are not book bloggers, that are not watching TikTok, that are not part of these communities. I think it does make a difference. And um, I guess I don't think it's a bad practice, but I do think that it depends on who's doing the blurb offering. All right, on that note, I am going to get to work. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, a long weekend for some people here in the US. And I will talk to you all on Monday. Even though it's President's Day, I'll be working because my boss is a bitch. Um, I will talk to you all then. You all take care. Bye bye.